All right, man. Peace. So, I just saw a story on the CBS Morning News regarding a so-called black man named Radee Labeeb Prince. He decided that he was going to go on a killing spree because he seemed to be irate at some of his former co-workers or his colleagues at two of the places of his former employment, one in Maryland, one in Delaware. Anyway, they're going to talk about this story. Of course, I'm going to chime in.
The gunman accused of killing 3 co-workers at a Maryland office park and injuring 3 others is in custody this morning. Radee Labeeb Prince was arrested in Newark, Delaware last night after a manhunt that led police up and down Interstate 95. Errol Barnett is in Edgewood, Maryland, where the shooting spree that spanned 2 states began. Errol, good morning.
Good morning. The terrifying incident began here Wednesday morning as people were showing up for work at this office park. The FBI says it does not appear terrorism related and that Prince knew every one of his victims in both states.
Look, let me say this first off. The reason why I decided to do a video on this story was, not to try to justify this man and any of his actions. As they report this story, it's going to be revealed that he has a very, very extensive track record of violence. But let me say this. A lot of so-called black men, they take these jobs, these various jobs, and, in many of these workplace locations, a lot of black men find themselves getting denigrated, whether it be verbally or psychologically. Maybe they get talked down to, maybe they get disrespected in their place of employment. This is why I encourage so-called black men to not embrace that ideology of tolerating negativity, of ingesting a negative workplace environment, trying to take that in, because it always comes out. Now, of course, this case is an extreme case, and once again, by no means am I trying to justify what this man chose to do. Once again, he clearly has a psychological imbalance. Spiritual issue, whatever you want to call it. But I've seen this a lot of times with various black men at different workplace locations who excelled at what they did, were very good, but were passed over, oftentimes were talked down to. And this is why I always encourage the so-called black man to pursue whatever his talents are and try to maximize them. This man, Radee Labeeb Prince, he decided that he was going to bottle up all the anger and frustration that he had at 2 different workplace locations, and he was going to start killing people. Brothers, before it ever gets that far, before it ever goes that far, whether it's in the workplace or dealing with a female or a so-called friend, cut them out of your life, man. It's much, much easier to cut negativity out of your life than to try to master negativity by destroying the vessel that the negativity is being delivered through. A lot of these people are emissaries for Satan. A lot of these people are. They go through their life hating themselves. They go through their life filled with all type of spiritual baggage, and they see other people and they want to push their negative energy on other people, particularly the so-called black man. Once again, I'm not making any excuses for his behavior. He clearly has mental issues. But like I always say, my channel is geared towards the so-called black man. And that's how it's always going to be. But anyway, just getting back to the point. Brothers, please always spend your time trying to maximize your gift and hopefully being your own boss so that you don't have to be subjected to corrosive environments where you get to the point where you actually want to kill people and engage in mass murder. Because everybody's not a Radee Labeeb Prince, who has an extensive track record of criminality. But you do have brothers who are mentally stable, and they decide that they just can't take it anymore, and they end up engaging in violence in the workplace because they just feel like they got to get some get back. A lot of these motherfuckers, they ain't worth it, man. Don't get it twisted. Like the scriptures tell you, there's a time for every purpose. Sometimes it is the right thing to whoop somebody's ass. God forbid, sometimes it is the right thing to kill somebody. All right? In self-defense or what have you. There's a time for every purpose under the sun. But, once again, I picked this story because I see a lot of so-called black men who try to mask the mental and psychological baggage that they have inside because they've been trained. The so-called black man is trained from his infancy, from his youth upward, that he's supposed to take everybody's bullshit. He's supposed to take the so-called black woman's bullshit. He's supposed to take the Caucasian's bullshit. He's supposed to take bullshit from everybody. And then what happens? The so-called black man gets so frustrated and angry, he decides oftentimes that he wants to express all the negativity that he has been inundated with on other black men. This is why brothers walk down the street and they eyeing each other up and down, don't even know the next man, but you're trying to start a fight with him, or you're trying to, exert some type of negative energy or anger or violence on that next so-called black man. All right? Because the so-called black man is trained from his youth upward that he's supposed to tolerate everybody else's nonsense. There are constructive ways to get out of corrosive environments. Okay? But anyway.
On a very sad day, we came to a successful conclusion.
Last night, authorities ended a 10-hour manhunt for 37-year-old Radee Prince in Newark, Delaware.
People started coming out of the building crying.
Kevin Doyle was one of the first to call 911 Wednesday morning after Prince allegedly opened fire on his co-workers.
For numerous stories, possibly.
Look, let me say this. I've been in the corporate America workforce before. I know that, you have certain people in these environments that like to push your buttons or try to. Like I said, a lot of these people, they have very negative home lives, especially females. Look, no disrespect. I've worked in corporate environments around liberal black females. The liberal black female, they love to conduct themselves as if they're at a family barbecue. Oftentimes in the workplace, they think that the workplace is a dating service, a gossip center. Right? The liberal black female does, yes. And of course, most of the other females do as well. The liberal woman, for the most part, as I've stated in the past, is basically the same. The liberal black female just is a ratcheted up version of that. And oftentimes people will try to start shit with you in the workplace that they would not do out in the street because they know that the penalty would be a knockout. Right? But they figure, once you punch into the work, you're not going to punch anybody out. Once again, these are things that people do in the workplace, and it's almost unerringly a reflection of their own dissatisfaction with their personal life. You'll oftentimes find that when a woman is happily married or in a relationship per se, whatever you want to call it, quote unquote, with children, she doesn't have time to be concerned with other people's business for the most part. You'll find that most of these females in the workplace who spend their time trying to provoke people, most of the time they're single, desperately single. Most of the males who spend their time in the workplace trying to talk slick or what have you, they're usually simps, meaning women worshipers. So they take on the spirit of the liberal females. I say all that to say this. Once again, so-called black men, try to find a way to do your own thing and be your own boss. This has always been my platform to the best of your ability. Everybody can't do that. It is a process. But, at least if you're in the workplace, even if it's a negative environment, if you have to be there for 8-9 hours, you can keep your mind on, I have a certain skill. I have a certain trade. I'm working towards doing that on my own, even if I have to be here, during that little intermediary time period. That's where your mind should be at. It shouldn't be at going to work and taking what these people say seriously. As I've stated in the past, the workplace is a cult now. It is a reprogramming center. It is a place where where they have programs now to implement a certain thought process, particularly in the so-called black man. They don't like it when you're not trying to blend in. They don't like it when you're when you're not trying to be submissive, particularly as a so-called black man. You're just supposed to nod your head and go along to get along. They cast you normally into one of two slots. Either you're the angry black guy or you're the nice black guy who everybody tries to push around. I've seen it. Okay. So the so-called black man has to be very careful in these workplace environments. Once again, it is not at all to excuse the actions of Mr. Radee Labeeb Prince. I don't know what he went through in these two workplaces where he felt like he had to do that. But as will be revealed, as I've already stated, he has a very long rap sheet. So he's not good at solving problems at all. And let me also say this before I continue. I noticed on this Ford Cruiser that they have highlighted on the front license plate, they have the number 36 highlighted. They're also going to highlight the amount of times that Mr. Radee Labeeb Prince has been arrested for infractions in the state of Delaware, I believe it was, that they highlighted. And the number they chose to highlight was 42. I'm not sure what Mr. Prince endured while in prison, but it would not shock me if he was unwittingly the recipient of some form of chemical cocktail that he was injected with. It would not shock me at all. A lot of these guys that you see out here, especially here in New York, brothers know this. A lot of times you see cats out here talking to themselves. A lot of those guys were injected with something while they were locked up. Okay? A lot of brothers get injected with things when they go to the military or when they get locked up, and it affects their biochemistry and they're never the same. You never know what you're being injected with, particularly in the penitentiary. You are property of the state. Okay? They want to see how your body reacts to certain things. They do not care if you're dead. Once again, you're just a stock option. That's it.
Of illegal gunshots.
It took place at this countertop company in Edgewood, Maryland. Prince killed 3 people and put 2 others in critical condition.
I figure some are dead because I only seen to bring one person out.
Police said Prince then drove a black 2008 GMC Acadia SUV like this one about 50 miles along the busy traffic corridor of I-95. That's where more than 60,000 people drive between Maryland and Delaware every day. Prince continued his spree at this used car lot in Wilmington, Delaware, where he shot and wounded another victim.
This is a desperate person. He's already killed 3 people. He shot 6 altogether.
There they go with that number again. He killed 3 people. He shot 6 altogether.
And he still had a firearm on him.
Wilmington Police Chief Robert Tracy said officers received tips from the public and found Prince walking near a high school. Police chased him on foot after he tried to discard a handgun matching the caliber of bullets found at both crime scenes. Last night, reporters asked Tracy how Prince, a convicted felon who has been arrested 42 times in Delaware alone.
Now look at this. It states that he's been arrested 42 times in Delaware alone. Why would they not just list the amount of times that he's been arrested in every state or in Delaware and Maryland? Clearly, they wanted to highlight the number 42. For those of you who are not aware, that number 42 has a high significance in the Hermetic philosophy, which basically is just a descendant of the Babylonian mystery school system founded by Cush and Nimrod. As I've stated already, the god Thoth, the god of wisdom and learning and writing and mathematics and ancient Kemet, it's just another pseudonym for Cush. And Thoth is the quote unquote deity who has been attributed to writing the I believe it was the 42 laws of Thoth. No, the 42 books of Thoth. Pardon me. This is the 42 laws of Ma'at, the 42 books of Thoth. But yes, that is the origin of the term "as above, so below," or meaning as in the spirit world, so in the physical world. Okay. So you always got to be aware when you see stories like this. This is why I believe that this gentleman may have been the victim of some form of experimentation in prison. That's the only reason why I could believe that he would be allowed out onto the streets. Now, for those of you who are not aware of experimentation on prisoners, you could read a book called Acres of Skin, which was about the experimentation on prisoners in Philadelphia. I believe the prison was Holmesburg Prison, where you had a guy, I'm trying to remember his name, a doctor, was Albert or Alfred Kligsman, I believe his name was, who decided that he was going to perform experimentation on prisoners on their skin. He was testing the effects of extreme cases of psoriasis and dermatitis and things of that nature on prisoners without their, of course, without their consent. And of course, most of the prisoners that he tested on were black, so-called black men. You also had a guy named Sidney Gottlieb. For those of you who don't know, he was one of the forerunners of the CIA mind control experimentation. Of course, they used what they call hallucinogenic drugs, the main one being LSD. His name was Sidney Gottlieb, spelled S as in Sam, I-D-N-E-Y. Last name G as in George, O-T-T-L-I-E-B. This guy, Sidney Gottlieb, very, very, very perverse and evil person. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy whose drink he spiked with an hallucinogenic drug. One of his colleagues, he spiked the guy's drink with the drug, and the guy killed himself 10 days later. All right. They've also tested the effects of uranium and plutonium on prisoners, of course, unwittingly, without their knowledge, without their consent. Once again, when you become incarcerated, you are a ward of the state, right? When you're incarcerated or you're in the military. So I have very little doubt that something was done to this man, and they just basically let him out on the street to do whatever it was that he was going to do. But the reason why I make a video about a story like this is just to use this as a backdrop for brothers, because I know for a fact a lot of cats go through a lot of silly shit on these jobs. I always remember, brothers, there's always a way out of bad situations. You just have to use a little foresight, man. Okay? Of course, everything is not going to be as extreme as this issue with this man right here. Okay? But this is why I make these videos and gear them towards the so-called black man. Like I said, other people who want to listen, if you get enjoyment out of the video, that's great. But my channel will always be geared towards the so-called black man because they are the recipients of the most lies.
Was able to walk the streets.
If there's violent people that are causing carnage in the community and they have some violent crimes, we got to find a way to keep them behind bars.
Sounds like a call for some type of incarceration law reform. I would like to hear this man Radee Labeeb's version of events and what possibly may have gone on with him while he was incarcerated.
Now, CBS News obtained a restraining order that a former boss sought against Prince in February, claiming he punched another employee. Prince will be arraigned, is expected to face charges in both states, and eventually move back to Maryland.
Right. Well, if he's facing charges in both states, then you guys should have listed the amount of times that he committed infractions in both states as opposed to just one. Why did you just list just one? Why not both? Unless you clearly wanted to exalt that number 42. This is why I say, something is rotten in Denmark with this person, Radee Labeeb. Would not shock me if he went through some form of experimentation while in prison. All right. And once again, brothers, I give you these names for you to look up so that you can see, and understand a lot of what goes on in the subtext of this society. They just present these stories and they never give you any background. They just want you to think that people just snap. And sometimes people do just snap. But sometimes there's a reason behind why people do what they do. Sometimes there is, there is an insidious root to certain issues or storylines that they promote or project on television. All right. And once again, it is not to make any excuses for this man's actions.
Nora?
All right, Errol. Thank you so much.
But anyway, I'll probably end it there. But once again, brothers, look for your own thing. Try to do your own thing. Try to empower yourself by, utilizing the gifts that you have. I see a lot of people, they come on my channel. A lot of these people, they sit back and they watch my videos, or they might listen to my videos. And look, I get a lot of brothers who message me and say, oh, I tried to share your video with this person and they didn't get. Look, man, everything is not for everybody. All right. Everything is not for everybody. I don't promote my channel. I don't promote my videos. The people who like the videos, great. The people who don't like them, that's great too. Just don't come in my comments trying to start a bunch of arguments and, you angry every video at every video that gets made. Just move along with your life. Find a channel that's better for you. Because I have I have certain stances, and there's reasons behind why I have them, and they're not going to change. All right. 2 + 2 is going to be 4, no matter what time of the day. And that's the bottom line of it. But anyway, brothers, peace.